Family, hold on to your hats because a bombshell just dropped in the league's trade market. The Broncos are eyeing something big. And when I say big, it's because it could completely revolutionize Denver's offense. We're talking about moves involving the Ravens, Browns, and big names that could be wearing orange and blue before the deadline even hits. What is Sean Payton planning? Why is George Payton monitoring the tight end market like a hawk? And most importantly, could this be the missing key to unlock Bo Nix and get our offense on track for good? Stick with me because this conversation is about to heat up Broncos Country. Let's get straight to the point, folks. The trade deadline is coming up on November 4th, and the Broncos aren't sitting idle watching the circus pass by. Information coming straight from the league's backrooms reveals that Denver is pulling strings, making calls, and analyzing the market with special attention on one position, tight ends. That's right, people. The franchise is eyeing the tight end position, and the names circulating are enough to keep any fan awake at night thinking about the possibilities. We're talking about Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens, a guy who's been a 3-time Pro Bowler and who, despite being 30 years old, still has plenty of game left. And there's also David Njoku from the Cleveland Browns, a complete athlete who blocks, catches balls, and causes nightmares for defenses inside the red zone. But hold on. Before you start dreaming about new jerseys in the locker room, let's understand the full context of this situation. Why on earth would the Broncos be looking for a tight end if we signed Evan Engram in the offseason specifically to be the guy? The answer is simple and direct. Expectations haven't been met. Engram arrived with fanfare, introduced as the famous joker of Sean Payton's system, that versatile player who was going to open up the field, create impossible matchups, and be a constant safety valve for the quarterback. But the reality Broncos Country was quite different from the script. Through 7 games, Engram has just 22 receptions for 179 yards and a touchdown. For a guy who was brought in to be a central piece of the offensive scheme, these numbers are, at minimum, disappointing. Is it fair to Engram? Look, the guy had some injuries early in the season that hampered the chemistry, and recently he's shown signs of improvement. But honestly, both the franchise and the fan base expected much more. Much more production, much more impact, much more presence in decisive moments. And when you look at the Broncos' offense as a whole, it's clear it's not just his problem. The entire offense has been inconsistent, unpredictable, with one game here that works, another there that completely falls apart. So here's the million-dollar question. Is bringing in another tight end really the solution? Will adding another piece at this position finally make Denver's offense click and show the potential everyone knows exists? I have my doubts, I'll admit. But let's coldly analyze the options on the table. Mark Andrews is a name that carries weight. The guy is a veteran, knows the game, has been through playoffs, has been a fundamental piece in the Ravens' explosive offenses. At 30 years old, he may be losing a bit of athletic explosiveness, but he's still a reliable target, especially on intermediate routes and in the red zone. And let's face it, folks, Bo Nix needs big, reliable targets when the defense tightens up near the end zone. Andrews could be exactly that. The problem? Baltimore is having a frustrating season, devastated by injuries throughout the roster, but still, would they give up a veteran of this caliber? Doesn't seem very likely unless their season completely collapses. If they lose 1 or 2 more games in a row, then maybe George Payton could convince the Ravens front office to listen to offers. But it's a difficult scenario. Now, David Njoku, that's a different conversation. The Browns' tight end is 29 years old, is in the last year of his contract, and here's something interesting. Cleveland has a rookie named Harold Fannin Jr., who's emerging at the position. This means Njoku might be available, and available at a more reasonable price than you'd think. And what a player family. Njoku is one of those complete guys, blocks on the line like a tackle, runs routes like a wide receiver, and when Bo Nix needs a tall, athletic target in the end zone, he's there, ready to fight for the ball. With the Browns having a below-expectation season, it wouldn't be surprising at all if they decided to rebuild and move veteran pieces. If Njoku hits the market, the Broncos need to be at the front of the line for that negotiation. But wait, there's more. The rumors also mention Chigo Okonkwo from the Tennessee Titans. An athletic tight end with good receiving potential, but here's where a tactical question arises. Okonkwo is more of one of those move tight ends, guys who are used primarily in the passing game and aren't known for their blocking work. Is that what Sean Payton wants? Considering the Broncos already have Adam Trotman and Nate Adkins for more physical roles, maybe Payton is really looking for more receiving capability than brute force. Tell me, Broncos Country, what do you think? Is it worth investing draft picks or money in another tight end when we have other roster needs? Because let's be honest, the entire offense needs to improve, not just one position. From the offensive line creating cleaner pockets for Bo Nix, to the wide receivers getting better separation on routes, there's work to be done on multiple fronts. And here's a point that needs to be highlighted. Sean Payton and George Payton are talking every single day about the deadline. Every day. This shows they're taking this seriously, weighing every move, every possibility. Payton even said publicly that he likes the team's current plan, but didn't rule out making adjustments if something interesting comes up. It's that classic general manager posture. Don't show your cards, keep all options open, but also don't force a move just for the sake of it, and that's wise, family. The Broncos are at 5 wins and 2 losses, leading the AFC West division. We're competitive, we're in the fight for the playoffs, but we still haven't found our complete offensive identity. Making the wrong trade now could mortgage the franchise's future without guaranteeing immediate success. But making the right trade, that could be the missing fuel to transform a good season into a special season. Another detail that can't be overlooked. Some analysts point out that the Broncos might also be eyeing running backs with receiving skills. This would make sense considering Sean Payton has always liked having versatile options coming out of the backfield, guys who can make defenses think twice before covering one way or another. But back to tight ends, because that's where the buzz is hottest. The reality is that adding a productive veteran at this position could have multiple positive effects. First, it would give Bo Nix one more reliable option on third downs, those crucial situations where you need to convert to keep the drive alive. Second, in the red zone, where the Broncos have been too inconsistent, having a big, experienced target completely changes the play-calling dynamics. Third, and perhaps most important, it would create competition in the locker room. Healthy competition that forces everyone to raise their level. Now let's talk reality here. Mark Andrews leaving Baltimore? Difficult but not impossible. The Ravens are desperate for results, but trading a respected veteran could generate negative reaction within the locker room itself. David Njoku? The chances are higher. Cleveland is clearly in evaluation mode, and if they don't believe they'll compete this year, it makes perfect sense to capitalize on veterans before losing them for nothing in free agency. And there's another layer to this whole discussion we need to consider: the cost. What is George Payton willing to pay? A third-round pick? Fourth? The Broncos have a young, promising roster, so mortgaging too much draft capital could be risky. On the other hand, we're in position to compete now, with Bo Nix showing improvement week after week, with the defense playing at a high level. Isn't it time to go all in and get that piece that can make a difference? Let me tell you something, family. Teams that win championships are those that identify their weaknesses and act to correct them. There's no point getting to January and lamenting that we failed to make that move in November. If Sean Payton and George Payton genuinely believe a veteran tight end can elevate the offense, then they need to have the courage to pull the trigger. But there's also the other side of the coin. What if the solution isn't external? What if the answer lies in adjusting the scheme, in giving more opportunities to the guys already on the roster, in finding creative ways to use Evan Engram in ways that maximize his abilities? Sean Payton is one of the best offensive minds in league history. If anyone can figure out how to extract the maximum from a roster, it's him. Look, Broncos Country, I'm going to be straight with you. This deadline will define a lot about what this season can become. Doing nothing is a choice. Making the wrong move could be disastrous, but making the right move? It could be what takes us back to glory, back to the playoffs with full force, back to being a franchise feared throughout the league. The coming days will be filled with intense speculation, circulating rumors, negotiations happening behind the scenes. George Payton will be on the phone, evaluating every option, every scenario. And we as fans need to trust that the franchise's leadership will make the right decision for the good of the team, for the good of the Denver Broncos family. Before continuing, if you're Broncos country for real and don't want to miss any hot news about trades, injuries, tactical analyses, and everything involving our family, subscribe to the channel now. Hit that bell and stay tuned because the next few days are going to be busy. You know what I think? I think the Broncos are going to do something. Not necessarily at tight end, but some move is going to happen. Sean Payton isn't the type who stands still when he sees an opportunity to improve the team. And George Payton has already proven he's not afraid to make tough decisions. If David Njoku is really available at a fair price, I'd bet Denver will at least make a serious offer. The guy fits perfectly what we need: versatility, athleticism, experience, and hunger to win. Mark Andrews would be incredible, obviously, but I think it's more complicated due to political issues and the Ravens' attachment to the player. Njoku, though, he's in a situation where both the player and the team could benefit from a change of scenery. And just imagine, family, Bo Nix with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Oops, I forgot he's gone, but anyway, with the wide receivers we have plus Njoku as a safety valve, this starts to look like a real offense, an offense that can make noise in the playoffs. So, Denver Broncos family, what's your opinion? Do you think we should go after Mark Andrews even though it's harder? Or is David Njoku the right bet for the cost-benefit? Or should we stay quiet and trust the current roster? I want to know. Drop down in the comments and tell me what you'd do if you were George Payton. Leave that like to strengthen the channel. Share this video with all your friends who are Broncos country, and let's keep this conversation going. See you in the next video with more piping hot updates about our family. Until then, let's go all out, Broncos country.